Okay, so let's talk about multiplying fractions. There's a couple of steps that you need to keep in mind when you're multiplying and dividing fractions. The steps are basically the same, except for with division there's a little bit more to do. When you multiply fractions, the first thing you need to do is to make anything that's a whole number or a mixed number, make them improper. If you have a whole number, you're going to take that number and put 1 underneath it. And if you have a mixed number, you're going to make it an improper fraction like we did last week. Then you're going to cancel if you can. Remember, with cancellation, we'll review the steps for cancellation. You need to take a top number and a bottom number and reduce them by the same factor completely. Then you need to multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator, and make sure that your final answer is simplified and reduced. So those are the 5 steps. If you look at your packet, these steps are listed for you on page 4. Okay, so you have those steps listed on page 4 of your packet. Page 2 and 3 go over how to convert improper fractions and mixed numbers. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind is when you have 2 fractions that don't have units attached to them and the word of in between them, that is an indication that you need to multiply. So of, when you have 2 fractions that don't have units attached to them, then you're going to multiply. So in this particular problem, we have 3/5, which is a proper fraction, and 1 1/6, which is an improper fraction. So if I were to multiply this, I need to make 1 1/6 improper. So the way that I would do that, remember, is I take the denominator, I multiply it by the whole number, and I add the numerator. I add 1 here, and that's going to give me 7/6. So I'm going to rewrite this problem as 3/5 times 7/6. And then I need to see if I can cancel. Can I cancel anything here? Top and bottom by the same factor? What can I cancel? Yeah, the 3 and the 6 I can, right? By 3. So 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So remember, in cancellation, I take a top and I take a bottom number at one time. And if I can completely divide them by the same factor or the same number, then I can cancel. So that leaves me with 1 times 7, which is 7, and 5 times 2, which is 10. Now, can I reduce 7/10? No, because 7's prime, so once you get a prime number, you're done. Here's another problem. I have 5/9 times 6 and 3/4. Well, 5/9 is already a proper fraction, so I don't have to do anything to it right now. But 6 and 3/4, I do need to make that improper. And remember, on page 2 and 3, page 2 tells you how to, it's a reminder of how to make a mixed number improper, and page 3 shows you how to make an improper fraction a mixed number or simplify it. So those 2 things you need to know how to do if you're going to multiply and divide. So 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 is 27. And remember, you keep the same denominator. So take the bottom times the whole number, and then add the top. That total thing is put over the original denominator. So now I have 5/9 and 27/4. I'm going to rewrite it. So I can reduce 5/9 and 27/4 by using cancellation. I can take the denominator 9 and the numerator 27 and reduce them both by 9. 9 goes into 9 once, 9 goes into 27 3 times. And then I can't reduce anything else, so on top I've got 15/4. Now for my last step, I cannot leave my answer as 15 over 4. I know some of you, when you learned how to do fractions, you left it improper. And you know, in some algebra problems, you might want to leave it improper because you're still going to do something with it. But for the purposes of just multiplying fractions, you need to simplify it and reduce it. So to simplify 15 over 4, you can look at page 3 and you see that you're supposed to divide it. So we divide it and make it a mixed number. So 4 goes into 15 3 times. That gives me 12, and I subtract, I have 3 left over. Now what's left over when I have my remainder becomes my new numerator. So that's 3 over 4. Since 3 over 4 is already reduced as low as it could go, then I'm done. So my answer is 3 3/4. You need to do this last step of simplifying and reducing to get your final answer. Are there any questions on this step? Okay. So here, I'm going to make 5 4/7 improper. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 4 gives me 39 over 7. I can't reduce that. So that gives me 39 over 28. 39 over 28 becomes the mixed number of 1 and 11 over 28, which I can't reduce. So that's my answer. 11 over 28 is a fraction that can't be reduced, so my answer is 1 and 11/28. Here I've got 4/5 times 6 3/4. That becomes 27 over 4. I can cancel the 4's out and get 27 over 5. Now some people like to cancel and some people don't. I personally like to cancel, but you don't have to. It just makes your numbers bigger if you don't cancel. I like to cancel to make them smaller, and then I don't have to do too much work at the end. So I cancel out the 2 4's by 4, and now I have 27 over 5 left over. 5 goes into 27 5 times, and I have 2 left over. So my mixed number is going to be 5 2/5. On this example, I have 4/7, and then I'm going to have 28 over 9. I can reduce 28 over 9 along with 4/7 by canceling the 7 and the 28. And that will give me 16 over 9, of which I get the mixed number 1 and 7 over 9, which I can't reduce. So that's my answer, 1 and 7/9. Here I've got 2/5, and I'm going to multiply that by 25 over 4. So I can do quite a bit of canceling here if I want. So I'm going to rewrite it. I could do 2 and 4, reduce those 2 by 2, and then I could take 5 and 25 and reduce those 2 by 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get 5 over 2, which becomes 2.5. Okay, so try to cancel if you can. It just makes things a little bit quicker. So let's talk a little bit more about cancellation, because cancellation is a really good skill. Like I said, you don't have to do it, but it makes your problems a little bit more manageable because they're not so big. Your products will not be so big. So the first thing you need to do with canceling is you need to ask yourself, there are no whole numbers or mixed numbers, so you can cancel and multiply. In this particular problem, you just have 4/5, which is a fraction, a proper fraction, and you're multiplying that by 3/8, which is a proper fraction. Now, you need to ask yourself, is there a top number and a bottom number that I can reduce by the same factor? Ask yourself that question. I see that 4 will go into 8 2 times, and 4 will go into 4 1 time. So I could cancel the 4 and the 8. It has to be a top and a bottom number. Any top and any bottom that can be reduced. And as I'm looking at this, I have 1, 3, 5, and 2. I can't cancel anything else. So on top I'm going to get 3, and on the bottom I'm going to get 10. So cancellation is a strategy that you do want to use. You need to know your multiplication tables real well too. So here I've got 2 and 12 that can both be reduced by 2, and I have 7 and 7 that can be reduced by 7. So I can do 2 cancellations here. 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 7 once, 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. 1 times 1 is 1, and 6 times 1 is 6. So my answer for this problem is 1 over 6. So, cancellation, these are your objectives. We want to keep in mind what it is. I'm reducing before I multiply is basically what you're doing. So you need to ask yourself, for the top and the bottom, what number will go into both of them evenly and reduce them to a smaller number? Okay? And I showed you a couple of examples of how to do it. We need to practice this to get good at it. Remember, the purpose of cancellation is the process of reducing fractions before you multiply the numerators and denominators so that they are more manageable. Basically, this process makes your multiplication more manageable, and that is why cancellation is your friend. And you need to remind yourself that cancellation is your friend because it reduces things down. And these were the steps. Take one top number, the numerator, and one bottom number, a denominator. It can be any top and any bottom in your problem, at a time, and reduce them evenly. Now remember, you cannot cancel if you cannot reduce them evenly by the same factor, the same number. Then in step 2, you continue to do this until you can no longer cancel. Remember, when only the factor of 1 goes into 2 numbers, you're done. Then that's when you need to cross multiply. You're going to multiply the top numbers and get your numerator, and then you're going to multiply the bottom numbers and get your denominator. Don't forget to simplify if you need to. So you still should check your answer to make sure it's simplified. So in this problem, what can I cancel? I have 4 over 3 times 13 over 65. Can I cancel anything? What can I cancel? Top and the bottom by the same factor. Which one? You don't see one? What about 13 and 65? Doesn't 13 go into 65 evenly? And if so, by how much? By 5, that's right. So 13 goes into 13 once, and 13 goes into 65 5 times. Take any top number and any bottom number. They can be right on top of each other. It doesn't have to be from the other fraction, which is what I think a lot of people get stuck on. So I can reduce the actual fraction that's there, 13 over 65. Now, I can't reduce anything else, so I'm going to get 4 over 15. So you need to know your times tables. Okay, what can I cancel here on this problem? 8 and 16, and then 9 and 9, right? So 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 16 twice, and then I could do 9 and 9. So right, 9 goes into 9 once, and 9 goes into 9 once. And that leaves me with 1 on top and 2 on the bottom. So my answer is 1/2. Okay, now you guys need to put on your multiplication hats. What can I cancel here? 12 and 20, what goes into both 12 and 20 evenly?
By 2.
I can do by 2, but what about 4?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what else can I cancel besides 12 and 20? 17, and how many times does 17 go into 51? 3 times, okay? So 17 goes into 17 once, and 17 goes into 51 3 times. So I just did that one just because it was the biggest. And then I know 4 will go into 12 3 times, and 4 will go into 20 5 times. Can I cancel anything else that's left over?
Yeah.
Yeah, what can I cancel? 3 and 3. So 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 3 once. So any top and any bottom I can cancel by the same factor. So my answer here is going to be 1 over 5. And just make sure it's reduced as low as it can go, because sometimes you might miss a cancellation. Okay, now here's something a little bit bigger, so let's try this one. What can I cancel here? I have a couple of choices. I could do 20 and 170 by 10. I could do 34 and 170 by 17. Or I could do 34 and 170 by 2. So I have quite a few choices. So what I decided to do here was I did 10 goes into 20 2 times, and 10 goes into 170 17 times, just to make them a little bit smaller. Now I can do 17 and 34, because I know that 17 will go into 34 how many times? How many times does 17 go into 34? 2 times. Should be 2 times. So 17 goes once, 17 goes into 34 2 times. So now I can't reduce anything else, so I have 2 times 2 is 4, and 7 times 1 is 7. So 4 sevenths is my answer. So let's review this one again. We did 20 and 170 by 10. Then we did 17 and 34 by 17. And we couldn't do any more. So now we have 2 times 2 is 4, and 7 times 1 is 7. So the way that you get good at this is to practice. What can I cancel here? I have some choices here too. I could do 42 and 70 by 7. Well, no, 7 doesn't go, right? 7 times 6. Yeah. And then I could do 8 and 42. So I have a choice. So I decided to do 7 by 7. 7 goes into 42 6 times. 7 goes into 70 10 times, right? But I still could do more. I could do 6 and 10, or I could do 8 and 6 by 2, right? So 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. I can't do anything else. So 3 times 11 is 33, and 8 times 5 is 40. I got 40 in my head. I want to say 4. So you get 33 over 40. First we divided by 7, 42 and 70. Then we divided 6 and 10. Then we divided, and we had to multiply 3 and 11, and then 8 and 5 to get 40. And I can't reduce this. This is as low as I can go. Ooh, this one's big. But if you will just look at 51 and 102, you can see that this is double this one. So 2 times this will give me that. And then for 19, I just multiply by 3 and I get 57. So I can do these 2 and I can do these 2. 102 divided by 51 is 2, and 51 divided by 51 is 1. So that one's done. Then I know 19 goes into 57 3 times, and 19 goes into 19 1 time. So I get 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1. And 6 over 1 is 6. So this time, my answer after I reduce it is a whole number. And that's okay. Sometimes I have a whole number, sometimes I have to get a mixed number. But having a whole number as your final answer is just fine. Here I'm going to cancel 24 by 6, I get 4. 18 by 6, I get 3. Then I'm going to cancel 40 by 5, I get 8. And 35 by 5, I get 7. And I can't cancel anything else. I'm getting 32 over 21. But 32 over 21 is improper, so I still need to do some more work to simplify this. 21 goes into 32 at least one time, and I will have 11 left over. So when I have 11 left over, the proper way to write this mixed number for the answer is 1 and 11 over 21. And that'll be my final answer. Here I'm going to reduce by, I can do by 5, no, by 2. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 goes into 48 24 times. And that's all I could do. So on top I got 625, and on the bottom I got 72. So if that's all I can do, I'm just going to have a pretty sizable fraction. So 72 goes into 625 8 times. 8 times 72 is 576. When I subtract, I have 9 left over, and then I have a 4. So altogether it's 49 over 72. And I can't reduce it. I just have a big fraction. Well, it's really a small fraction. So 8 and 49 over 72 is what I get for this answer. Here's another little quick and easy one. I know I'm going to cancel out the 8s, and my answer will be 3 over 11. Now let me go back to that 3 over 11. If I just use cancellation, I can just do it in my head and I know it's 3/11. But some people who don't want to do cancellation can go ahead and reduce it down using 8, and they would still get 3/11. So I just want to prove to you, you can do it either way and get the same answer, but you'll have more of a propensity to make a mistake if you have to do too many steps. So it's up to you, but I'd like you to try cancellation if you can. If you can't, then go ahead and multiply across. Look at the two numbers, see what you can divide by. Definitely, in this case, we can divide by 3 and we can divide by 2. So reducing by 6 would make more sense to me. If you want to go ahead and make it a mixed number and have that fraction left over, and then reduce the fraction down by 6, you can do it that way. I think coming here and reducing by 3 and then reducing by 2 would have been easier. But I want to show you that there is another way to do it to get the same answer of 3 3/4. So go ahead and go to your study guide. Remember, on page 2 and 3 is a practice for converting your fractions that are mixed numbers and that are improper fractions. And then on page 4, you start actually multiplying using these steps of making any mixed number and any whole number improper. That's the first step. And then you need to cancel, if you can, by taking any top number or bottom number by the same factor and reducing it before you multiply. Then you multiply and simplify and reduce again if you need to. So those are the steps. Go ahead and finish the multiplication, and we will work on division once you guys have gotten into the multiplication a little bit.